buy a used car from this man? Well, we did, and that's just the beginning of the story. This is Jerry Brown, who's an anthropologist,
Yes.
an author, a professor, and a lot more. And this is Julie Brown, who is also an author. Jerry, I was looking at your bio, and you were an organizer for Cesar Chavez during the great boycotts of the 60s.
Yes.
What was that all about?
As an anthropology graduate student from Cornell University, I went out to do my field work, my dissertation on Cesar Chavez and the farm workers. And to make a long story short, he said, well, you're here to do your research, but we're fighting for our lives. So how would you like to help us coordinate the great boycott nationally? And if you do that, you'll live with my compadre, I'll introduce you to the farm workers, and in your spare time, which turned out to be very little, you can do your research. It was, for a 23-year-old, a very exhilarating experience. I recently went back to the 50th year anniversary of the California grape strike, and I met this woman. She's young, she's 57 now. She told me farm workers have gone on to work with NASA, into Congress, principals of schools, in the state legislature. The union opened the world to them and transformed their lives. And that brought me to tears to know that we'd had an impact way beyond what we ever imagined in simply winning contracts for farm workers.
So you started a journey at that point, and it's led you now to the Miami Book Fair. And you guys are going to be participating in it this year because you have a book. Why don't you tell us the name of your book?
The book is called The Psychedelic Gospels, The Secret History of Hallucinogens in Christianity.
And what does that really mean?
Well, the book asks the question, does Christianity have a psychedelic history? And based on a discovery of a psychoactive mushroom that we made in Roslyn Chapel in 2006, we were stunned to find this there, and we asked ourselves the question, is it possible that hidden in plain sight for centuries, there were psychedelic images in the art and artwork of Christianity? And we undertook a research quest that took us from chapels to cathedrals, looking at mosaic stained glass windows, and everywhere we went, we found hidden images of psychoactive mushrooms mainly in Christian art, in stained glass windows, in frescoes, in illuminated manuscripts, in sculpture.
Is there a significance in discovering this?
Yes, there's a tremendous significance in discovering this because having taught a course at Florida International University for over 40 years on hallucinogens and culture, I know that psychoactive substances were used in the religions worldwide of shamanism, in the classical cultures of India, in the Hindu Rig Veda, in the Greek Eleusinian mysteries. And Christianity emerged from a Mediterranean area that was rife with mystery cults, many of which used sacred pharmaceuticals in the religious belief. So what this means is that, especially since Pope Gregory in the 7th century said that artwork should illuminate and be the Bible for the illiterate, because most of the populace was illiterate at that time, what we found here is a psychedelic gospel, a story that's different than the story that we've seen or imagined as the master story of Christianity that we get in the Orthodox version of Christianity.
Thinking about what you're saying and taking it a step further, is it possible that some of the miracles that are attributed to Jesus and to some of his followers, like walking on water, were really based on the fact that everybody was tripping that night and saw what they saw because they were stoned, and then passed that on to other people that might be tripping and using these drugs? And by the time it was written in the Bible, it sounded like a miracle when it was really nothing unusual except everybody was stoned.
Well, what we found is that people as elevated as the Bishop of Hildesheim, Germany, who later became a saint of the Catholic Church, enshrined psychoactive mushrooms in bronze doors that he cast and in the works of art that he made. So there, and I want to point out that secrecy is not suppression. So there is a deep and long tradition of psychoactive substances. And we know from contemporary research that psychedelic substances, psilocybin, LSD, can certainly bring about the experience of divinity, can bring someone into the divine presence, can replicate the kind of mystical experiences that people describe as visionary experiences in the Bible. So we certainly think it's within the realm of possibility that people throughout the ages, including people involved in Christianity, have actually experienced divinity and immortality through partaking in psychoactive substances.
Well, do you think there might be a renaissance in hallucinogenic drugs now with the scientific information that the community has?
There is a psychedelic renaissance underway, and right now with the organization called the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies at the forefront of this, we are revisiting the medical and therapeutic benefits of psychedelic substances. There are major studies going on with how they can help with post-traumatic stress syndrome, with alcoholism, with depression, and many other diseases. And that is driving, we believe, psychedelics into medical acceptance and will eventually take it into the mainstream of American culture. We're not calling for the legalization for the recreational use of psychedelics.
Okay.
We don't want to see these things in dispensaries in Colorado and in other states, but we are calling for the creation. We think that just as they've legalized, the Supreme Court, the use of peyote for the Native American church in this country, and the same thing is happening for ayahuasca with the Santo Daime religion coming out of Brazil, that every American ought to have as a First Amendment right the right to responsibly explore psychedelics for religious purposes. And so we're calling for the establishment of sacred centers where people could responsibly explore these for personal growth, for therapeutic processes, for mystical experiences, with the availability of trained guides and supervision.
Before we ask this question, I asked both Julie and Jerry who would like to have the last word. And Julie, being an admirer of Jerry, said what?
That he's so eloquent. I love to hear him speak.
Okay, Jerry, so you're on the spot.
Well, she's my biggest fan.
So my big question is, what's in the future for Julie and Jerry?
Well, first of all, we're on a mission to educate people about our findings. One, in the religious area. We don't think we're not here to criticize or challenge the fundamental beliefs of Christianity. We think that sacred sacraments can encompass all of God's creation, and as a Catholic brother David Stendhal-Ross says, if I can experience God through a sunset on a mountaintop, why not through a mushroom prayerfully ingested? So we want to educate people about the historical role of psychedelics in religion worldwide. And we will continue to blog about this, to post videos, and to post photographs about this. And people can learn about our work and follow our work by going to www.psychedelicgospels.com. That's psychedelicgospels.com.
Okay, you got all the information. Now it's up to you if you want to learn more. So I want to thank you guys for stopping by.
Pleasure.
It's always
Pleasure.
good seeing you. And the car that we bought from them was great, and we still use it, and I enjoy it every time, and I think of you guys every time I put the key in.
Aw.
So thank you.
So maybe you'll buy a book.
Maybe.